Okay, so I think we're recording now. I wanted to read you a book, and I'm reading it today because today is actually a really very spiritual window in time, and I think this book is a book that really was very subtly changed my life, and I hope that it has a little bit of impact on you, and in a positive way, of course, and that you get the same results that I did, that I made a shift in my thinking, and I went on to take some courses in a new way of understanding the world and my place in it. And this book is called Becoming Like God. It's written by Michael Berg, I beg your pardon. And it's a wonderful book. I know the name actually frightened me because it didn't really, anybody mentioned God to me, I thought, oh no, go away. What are you trying to do? Convert me? And so I basically took a back seat and read this. The events surrounding me going to this event are quite interesting. Nothing is coincidental. I'm from Australia. My name's Anna, and I'd come to America with my husband probably at that time around 10 years, or maybe 8 years prior. And we were living in Syracuse, New York when we first came here. We went from Syracuse, New York to Glastonbury near Hartford, Connecticut. And then from there we went to Houston, to the Woodlands. And then from the Woodlands we came to Dallas. Dallas wasn't somewhere that I actually had any desire to be. America, in fact, wasn't anywhere I had any great desire to live. I'd lived in numerous countries around the world, and this was the last choice for me. But since my husband was offered a job here, I decided, why not? Let's go. Let's see what life has to offer there. And so what happened, though, when I came to Dallas was that I found myself in a rather distressing, I'll have to say distressing, internal state. Yes, that's what I'll call it, because I was shopping. I became a consumer when I came to America, like I'd never been before. And I have to say, I'm almost speechless, as you can tell. I was shopping in a place called Tuesday Mornings, and I'm sure many of you know of this shop. And I wasn't really shopping. I was avoiding myself. I was avoiding my struggles, my internal dilemma. And I was filling my cart with useless, nonsensical items. And before going to the checkout, I don't know what I was doing or thinking, but it struck me that I didn't want any of these things. I didn't need any of these things, and that this was not going to change how I felt. And I literally took the cart to the back of the shop, sat down in a piece of furniture that was available to purchase, and cried. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And that was so unlike me. But it marked a need for me to change. And I went home and I thought, what is going on? What do I have to do? Well, what's wrong? You know, I have a beautiful home. I have a husband that earns great money. I've had a life that a lot of people would think has been extremely comfortable and exciting. And what's wrong with you? Why aren't you feeling as grateful, fulfilled, and joyful as you should be? So it struck me that there were things that were missing around me. And the things that were missing were the things that helped me make sense of my purpose in life. And the thing I came up with was that I hadn't made strong, deep friendships with people that were of a like mind as me, that were people who are seekers and who question and want to make sense, actually, of the world in a better way, and try and find the goodness in the world and try and find a way to bring more goodness to the world. Anyway, that set me on a mission to try and find the soul of Dallas. And I have to say that I've told people that before, and they've gone, the soul of Dallas. And I say, yes, the soul of Dallas. And they say, well, you know you're in the Bible Belt. This is the buckle of the Bible Belt. So, you know, there's churches everywhere. That can't have been hard. And I have to say, well, I wasn't looking for a church. I was looking for the soul. And that's like saying, I'm talking to you, but I have no idea who you are. And that's because if you're talking to somebody and not tapping into the essence of who they are, then you're just talking at a body. You're not talking with that person. So, and that's my opinion only, of course, but that's how I think of people. So I Googled, I went to the trusty Google, and I Googled metaphysics groups in Dallas. And I came up with a long list, by the way, people who believed in angels and people who turned themselves visionaries and any number of other interesting names. And then I came up, and of course with churches, etc., but I had very clear understanding that I wasn't looking for a church to belong to. So I had never ventured into the area of really discovering what Scientology was about, and I'd heard of it, but another thing popped up called Kabbalah, and I'd never ever heard of this before. And I'm a Capricorn, by the way, so I dutifully decided to go out and research all of these things backwards, and I put my name down on every list. Everything that popped up, I put my name on. And so I went off to each of these groups, and it didn't take long, 5 minutes in each space, sometimes even just walking in the door, for me to feel that this wasn't the place for me, this wasn't right, this wasn't me, this was not going to give me the answers that I was seeking. And you might think that that's a really quick appraisal, but that's how I operate. And I have to say I've got pretty good intuition. And at the time, I think I was letting my soul take me on this journey. I didn't want to be too heady about it. So I went with my gut on a lot of this, and that's what we came up with. And the night that the Kabbalah event was on, Dallas was experiencing an horrendous storm. I mean, seriously horrendous. Everyone had been told, don't go out on the roads. And I live in an area of Dallas which is near what they call the High Five, and that's an intersection of highways and overhead, loops and spaghetti factory style roadworks. And it's an intersection of the major roads of I-75 and 635. And we live in a lovely suburb, and the suburb, or people here call it community, and our community rarely gets the full effect or feels the brunt of any of these raging storms that go through Dallas, or DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So on this night, though, when I went out, I wasn't going to go. I had thought, okay, you've got your excuse not to go tonight. You don't have to do this. And I stopped and I said to myself, you know what? If your friend who likes to party called you up now and said, let's go to club such and such, you'd be there. Don't fool yourself. You'd go. Rain, hail, snow, shine, sleet, anything, you'd go. So I did a little bit of self-confrontation and said, just get off your butt and go to this event. So I did. And I have to say the water was like well over the gutters, the curbing, and there wasn't one single person at this event that was not drenched. But quite extraordinarily to me, it was the first one that I'd turned up to out of my huge list that had, I'd say easily 100 plus people at it. And I thought, well, this is a good sign. And I went in, and what they were doing, the people who were there to greet us gave us this book called Becoming Like God. And I have to say that as soon as I saw it, I went, no, this is not me. I'm not looking for God. I'm looking for purpose. I'm looking for, making myself feel better in the sense of the world. And I don't want anyone preaching to me. And so, but I took the book. And as it turned out, this event didn't start on time, and largely because of the weather, and I think that the teachers or the speakers were allowing extra time for people to arrive. So during the course of that wait, I read almost half the book, and I felt tears constantly rising in my eyes, and the fact that I was out in public was probably the only dam that was available to stop me really crying wholeheartedly. So anyway, this book's not going to have the same impact on everyone, but it did on me. So what I'm going to do now is, and I have to say that throughout the course of the evening and the presentation, I did cry. I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. But it was the best evening of my life. I actually went on from that point to study Kabbalah, and I am still studying Kabbalah. I'm not a really good student, but I'm in there, and I don't bash myself up for not being the best student in the group. But I'm there, and I'm trying my hardest to live the lessons and wisdom of the system of Kabbalah, which is based on the spirituality of the holy book, the Zohar. So this book is an introductory book to some concepts in Kabbalah. And Michael Berg wrote this and gave it to us. And so I'm going to just read a bit about this. And today I'm going to read the acknowledgement, okay? Because I love the acknowledgements. I love this book. And so here we go, folks. I hope you enjoy it. My parents, Rav and Karen Berg, have given me many gifts of incalculable value. However, the greatest gift they've given me and millions of other people around the world has been guidance in the 5,000-year-old spiritual wisdom known as Kabbalah. Since they began talking, writing and teaching about Kabbalah, they have given its key concepts a degree of focus and clarity that has never been known before. Moreover, having conducted their own lives according to these spiritual principles, they have provided a living example of becoming like God in action. It's impossible for me to adequately express my gratitude to my parents, and I will never be able to repay them for what they've given me. Everything written here comes from what they've taught me, and I hope I've presented their teachings faithfully with the deepest possible love and respect. I offer this book as a tribute to them. And I love that he said that about his parents, because one of the things that has occurred for me is a greater, deeper respect and love for my parents. I mean that in a different sense to the fact that we're all obligated to love our parents, or that we just say we love our parents. But I think I actually have a greater appreciation for who they are as people, who they are, the souls, the job they had to come here and do, and facilitated me coming here to do mine. So I think that's a really wonderful tribute. But he goes on to say, I would also like to thank my brother Yehuda for being my friend and partner in the path of continuing our parents' dream to spread this wisdom to the entire world. I'd also like to thank Jay Collins, Paul Wolfe, Peter Guzzardi, and Esther Sibilia, who helped me put these ancient ideas onto paper with clarity. My most important daily partner is my wife. There is so much I can say about Monica, but for me the most important is this. Without you I have nothing. With you I have everything. Michael Berg. Okay, so the prologue is called An Open Letter. I'd like to be able to hold the book up somewhere so that you can see my eyes a little bit better, because putting my head down is a little disconcerting when the reader's looking at you. But okay, so you will see why I'm looking up to the left, because I am holding the book up there and reading it for you. Okay, so this book is a letter addressed to the inmates of a prison. It's a strange prison because within its walls lie mountains and rivers and sunsets. It contains rare birds and rare diseases, mini-dramas, maxi-dramas, melodramas, and the latest DVDs. The prison has no name, but over the years its inmates came up with one and it stuck. They call it life. No one gets out for good behaviour, and in this facility everyone is sentenced to die. That's why this letter is addressed with great passion and urgency. You who read it, however comfortable your surroundings, are inhabitants of this prison, as am I. Our prison's history is littered with legends of escape attempts and rife with advice from escape experts, but prison life has proceeded pretty much unchanged for several thousand years, which is to say that most prisoners aren't aware they're in prison. I think that's where I was. I'm pretty sure I was. This had me in tears. I'm probably still there, but I'm endeavouring to get out of it. But now an incredible opportunity has presented itself. A historically ordained opportunity, an opportunity written in the DNA code of our universe. A crack in the prison door has opened and allowed a shaft of sunlight to shine through. Consider this book a report from that sunlight. That sunlight emanates from the creator of our universe. We can follow it to its source, and when we do, we discover our own source. When we do, instead of praying to God, obeying God, fearing God, or rejecting God, we become like God. On what authority do I make such an extraordinary statement? On good authority, none of which is mine. In fact, not a single truth that I'm about to reveal comes from me personally. I'm merely a reporter, and my news source is a 5,000-year-old body of wisdom called Kabbalah. My principal reference is 23 volumes of Aramaic text, which comprise the chief repository of Kabbalah's wisdom, the Zohar. 2,000 years ago, the Zohar revealed truths science is only now confirming. I've had the unusual privilege of translating the Zohar, its first complete English translation in history, and a project that took me more than 10 years. In human terms, my authority comes from a lineage of giants, Kabbalists and luminaries who for thousands of years have lived, revealed and transmitted the teachings of Kabbalah, sometimes in secret, sometimes in the face of grave danger, but always with the certainty that a moment in time would come when this knowledge would emerge from its private, esoteric realm and be available to everyone on earth. A moment when the prison doors would open and a long history of pain, suffering and death would be over. A moment when people would become like God. That moment is now. Michael Berg. We're going to go on to the first chapter, and I'm going to read the first chapter and then I'm going to post this and see what you think. A rock is hewn from a mountain. The first chapter is called The Rock and the Mountain. A rock is hewn from a mountain. It has the same nature as the mountain, but when it's disconnected, it's no longer called mountain, it's called rock. Not one atom of its essence has changed, yet pulling it from the mountain has made it something else. But put the rock back into the mountain and it's no longer a rock. True. So the rock's existence is determined not by its substance, but by its relation to the mountain that is its source. Kabbalah teaches that just as rocks are hewn from mountains, humans emerge from God. At the level of the soul, humans have exactly the same essence as God. In essence, humans are like God. So, next time you look at someone, think about it. So how did we become rocks? Kabbalah speaks of a negative force in the universe, a pixax that removes us from God. This force bears an odd name, but you'll be quite familiar with it by the end of this book. It's called desire to receive for the self alone. It is also known as ego nature, a state virtually all of us inhabit virtually all of the time. And it is the source of all our pain and suffering. So I'll show you a little diagram, okay? So he's got the rock. Can you see that? Okay. So here's what this book is about. Overcoming that force. Revealing our true essence, becoming like God. This book is a guide to that ultimate journey. It's meant to point the way, to motivate, to offer tools, direction and encouragement. I offer it on behalf of the luminaries who have preceded me, sages who completed their own journeys to becoming like God and left behind a roadmap for the rest of us. The list of map makers begins with Abraham and Moses and spans centuries to include Kabbalists such as Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, Rav Isaac Luria and the Baal Shem Tov. Most notably, in the last century, Rav Ashlag received divine authorization to reveal information from Kabbalah that had been held secret for time immemorial. He was the first Kabbalist to write down wisdom that for thousands of years had only been transmitted orally from teacher to student. This is not in the book, but I want to just make a comment here that it's also known that Jesus was one of the leading Kabbalists of our modern times. So you might say this book is made possible by a grant from the universe. Thanks to that divine decision and to the window in the cosmos that has opened in this era, the wisdom of Kabbalah now can be made available to every man, woman and child. A note before we go further. The word God is not an ideal term. No word has ever borne such a burden of interpretation and misinterpretation. For this reason, Kabbalists rarely use the word light of the Creator. The intention here is, for this reason, Kabbalists rarely use the word light of the Creator is a more accurate expression because the Creator, we know, is an energy of sharing and fulfillment. It is the light of the Creator we experience in those moments when joy overtakes us or when beauty suddenly illuminates our lives. I think the light of the Creator was actually coursing through me in Tuesday morning when apart from the fact that it's always coursing through each of us, but that I was really feeling it, and that's why I was having my moment of crisis, if you want to call it that. So having said that, since the word God is widely understood to represent a divine being of total perfection and ultimate potential, we will use it here in that sense, neutral of any set of religious beliefs. Once a group of souls descended to this world on a long ladder. Reaching the bottom rung, they sighed, dropped into the world and became human beings. They sighed knowing that their birth into this world meant separating from God. As their days on earth went by, they repeatedly jumped into the air to grab the bottom rung of the ladder, in a vain attempt to climb back to heaven. Some jumped a few times, then gave up and settled into human existence. Others jumped hundreds, even thousands of times, but they too failed to reach the ladder. One person, however, was different. He began jumping, kept jumping, then, unlike the others, never stopped jumping. Finally, God picked him up and brought him back to heaven. It may not look like it, but this book is a big neon sign. Its message is, keep jumping. The task is unceasing. Keep jumping. The worries of life may seem insurmountable. Keep jumping. We may even forget what we're trying to reach. Keep jumping. And if we have a question, it is not to ask why or when or who or what. The only question is, am I like God yet? There's chapter 1, folks. Let me know what you think. Thanks for joining me.